Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, especially after the holiday weekend, to have you, my international friends, gathered together with me as all of us gather around to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, a little bit of television here and there, guys. And I just got back from a holiday weekend. It was great. You guys noticed I didn't do any videos for the last number of days. And I just got back from my vacation, which is awesome. And I had a great time with Ann and my family off in Vegas for the weekend. But we are back. And also, riding back, yay, like Caesar riding into Rome, it's Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Bro, I am so good, but I gotta tell you, no spoilers, but that last night's episode of Watchmen, whoo boy. You know, I used to think that I was gonna hate watch that show, but I have to admit, it's Damon Lindelof's best work, and I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've liked the show. I loved last week's episode. I haven't seen last night's because I always watch Watchmen the next day. So I'm going to watch Watchmen a little bit later today, but I'm hearing very, very good things about it, which is awesome. Hey, guys, listen, before we get rolling here on the show, a couple things I want to make sure you guys are aware of. If you'd like to send in a live question that gets read on the show or in a companion video a little bit later on, you can go ahead and use the super chat feature, or if you look in the top link of the description, you'll see a tip link where you can go and submit a question. And we will get around. You can use that link 24/7, by the way. Also, a couple other things. One thing in particular I want to let you guys know. For those of you who live in or around the Los Angeles area, on Thursday, the John Campea YouTube channel, we crossed 200,000 subscribers. So thank you to everybody for that. I know it's a tiny, tiny number compared to real big YouTube channels, but we're very proud of it anyway. But we're also approaching 100 million views, which we will hit in the next few weeks. And so if you live in or around the Los Angeles area, I'm letting you know we're going to have a special little event on Tuesday, December the 17th here in Burbank. And you can see that there's a link right there you can use, or there's also a link down in the description below. If you are in or around the Los Angeles area and you want to come to that event, I'm going to be there. Robert Meyer Burnett's going to be there. Christian Harloff's going to be there. Of course, Aaron. Anyway, there's going to be a bunch of us there. And we're just going to have a good evening telling some stories, taking some Q&A, and taking some photos after as well. If you guys can be there, it would be awesome to have you guys there. All right. With all that out of the way, guys, let's now get into the meat of the show and start taking our main topics of the day. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, you see, it's really rather simple. You guys come up with the main topics by simply going anytime over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to our first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Jeff Bingham, who writes, Knives Out opened this past Thanksgiving weekend to an estimated 70 million worldwide with strong word of mouth and a $40 million production budget. Box office profitability seems inevitable. Do you see Rian Johnson continuing the Benoit Blanc mysteries, or is this a one-timer for him? I feel like Daniel Craig would be much happier playing Benoit Blanc again than he has James Bond. All right, thanks a lot for sending in that question, man. And listen, you guys heard me talk last week about Knives Out. I love this movie. For me, it's my number 3 movie of the year so far. So far. It's still behind Jojo Rabbit and it's behind Parasite, but it does come in a little bit ahead of Ford v Ferrari and The Farewell for me as well. But I love this movie. And you know, Rian Johnson said from the beginning that what he's going for is an Agatha Christie-inspired, stylized whodunit, which we have not seen for a while. We kind of got a little bit of that in Murder on the Orient Express by the great Kenneth Branagh. I was really looking forward to that movie. Frankly, I was disappointed with it a little bit. But I loved this movie, and the Daniel Craig central character, Benoit Blanc, as the great detective, I ate it up. I really did. And I would personally love to see this thing. So it all depends on what Rian Johnson wants to do right now. Because as you mentioned, this thing blew away every single box office forecast that they had for it, which is great for it. This little murder mystery movie, who would have thought anybody would go to see it? And yet they did go see it. I think yes. You know, when you listen to the interviews, Rob, by Rian Johnson, he loved making this movie. This has been a passion project for him for a long time. He grew up as a big fan of these sort of murder mystery things. I think for a guy like him to now be presented not just the opportunity to crank out this little film that may or may not make any noise, to now maybe getting to follow in those footsteps and actually create possibly the next great literary detective on screen, I think might be a little bit too good for him to pass up. Now, I do want to keep in mind that just because it did well financially and continues to do well financially, that doesn't automatically mean they're going to jump in anything. I mean, look at Baby Driver with Edgar Wright. That movie's fan-frickin-tastic, made the money, and it's been forever since they made any movement on it. So who knows? But I think Rian Johnson would like to do it. And dude, sign me up. I would love to see it. Anyway, what do you think about the box office results this weekend? Did it exceed your expectations, Rob? And do you think maybe Rian Johnson may actually want to continue on with this Blanc character?
Well, I might not have loved it as much as you, but it's a delightful movie. And I went and saw it Saturday night. And first of all, it's like a studio movie that we don't see. We're in somehow toward the end of the year, the studios have just snuck out all of these movies that I have loved. Ford v. Ferrari being one of them. This film, a great cast, a really eclectic cast of actors. I love seeing Don Johnson come back on the big screen. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I love Toni Collette. But I especially love seeing Daniel Craig put on that southern drawl that he sort of started out with in Soderbergh's Logan Lucky. Everybody was having a great time in this movie. And Ana de Armas, I mean, come on. And the fact that it was limited in its production scope, I mean, they shot most of the movie in and around this house. The cinematography is gorgeous. And this film was just so much fun to watch. Like, you're sitting in a theater, and I just felt this is why I fell in love with movies, like even as a kid, and seeing the sprawling cast of characters and all of these actors having such a good time. I've seen a lot of actors on various talk shows and talking about the making of this movie, and clearly they were having a ball. Not just, as you said, Rian Johnson was having a ball, but this cast was having a great time, and it really
you could see it, like it jumped off the screen.
It really did, and there was a lot of, like, when all the characters were being questioned, they would be sitting in that chair and the camera would do these slow push-ins to their faces. And I'm like, man, you could tell they were having a great time making this movie. And it really just shows through. I thought it was powerhouse studio filmmaking of the highest order, and it didn't cost a lot of money. John, I think what we're seeing is, like, if studios can put movies out that are $40 million films, admittedly, this is a very star-studded film, and they make money, and these are more adult-oriented, fair, original. I mean, it's funny, if they make a sequel to this, it'll now be a franchise. But this was an original film. Yeah. It was something unique. It was a throwback to another era, yet also modern. It even had things to say about our immigration issues here in America, but without doing it in a heavy-handed way. I thought this movie was really delightful, and more power to the studios who are going to be making these kinds of films, because what a lovely time at the movies, John.
And, you mentioned, you tell that the whole cast was having a good time. I even liked it, every single combination of characters. Like, right. One scene, this character and this character would be in a shot together, and I would love it. And then this scene, two other characters would be together. I just had a wonderful time with it. And really, at the core is Daniel Craig. And I'm so glad you brought up Logan Lucky. I thought that was a really nice little film.
I did too. I saw that in the theater.
So did I. And I love Daniel Craig in it. And I love this character. I suspect foul play. It's like, that's so classic.
And he's just like, they have to make more movies with him.
I hope so.
I mean, Rian Johnson should just do one of these every other year.
I would so be down, and it would be great. So anyway, guys, question is, did you guys have a chance to see Knives Out? If so, do you think they will carry on now and make this a franchise? Or do you think, it's just a great one-shot movie, now move on to something else? What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Rizzo's Gaming, who writes, within 6 days of release, according to Good Morning America, along with Entertainment Weekly, Frozen 2 has made $580 million US. To me, that's ridiculous and absolutely insanity. Since the movie is definitely making $1 billion at this point, how much more after that can this movie make? And what is the significance of this milestone? All right, thanks a lot for sending in the question, Rizzo. And listen, we knew that this little movie was going to be pretty good. And you know
We've
what?
been saying this for a year, John.
Oh yeah. We've been saying
we were
it
saying
for,
$1 billion for a year.
Yeah, and it's going to do it. And I think most people knew that. I mean, we weren't being Nostradamus there. I think a lot of people knew this movie was going to be huge and great and break all types of records. But I want to get the final absolute number here because as of right now, after the end of its second weekend, Frozen 2 has now made $738 million worldwide just on the conclusion of its second weekend. Just on the conclusion.
That's 10 days.
Of its second weekend. $738 million worldwide. Now, of course, it absolutely destroyed the box office this weekend. Still being in its second weekend. $85 million. It only, listen, we talk about this a lot. You will, normally, you're going to see around a 50-55% drop from week 1 to week 2 on movies. You're more likely to see that number be there and even a little bit of a higher drop if it has a huge opening, because that means more people rushed out to see it opening weekend. So you can expect a little bit of a bigger drop off. That's not a bad thing. This thing only dropped 34% from week 1 to week 2. Now, granted, it was brilliant release dating because the second weekend fell on a holiday weekend, so that's even better. But again, Knives Out, domestically alone, Knives Out took in $27 million, exceeding its expectations. Ford v Ferrari only dropped 16% from the previous week, down to $13 million. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood only dropped 11%. And then rounding out the top 5 was another really good movie, Queen and Slim, which I had a chance to go see, exceeding expectations as well at a little over $11 million that thing took in. Frozen 2, already nearly at 700. I got to wrap my head around this, like this little animated film. And remember, it was not that long ago that like animated films had a certain roof to their box office. I mean, you could expect success but they had a certain roof, a ceiling they could hit. Those ceilings seem to be gone. You know, I thought Frozen 2 was a delightful film. It's nice to see it. How big can this thing go? Well, it's almost hard to say, Rob, because right now when it comes to children's kind of fare, there's not a lot else coming out in the next little bit, not in the next short term at any rate. This thing could hit 1.2, maybe 1.3 at this point. I mean, it's already so far ahead of what the previous Frozen film was at.
Right.
But I'm telling you, it is staggering. And you know what? This movie deserves a success. I was actually really happy with this movie. It's a little bit darker, a little bit more mature than the previous one because that takes into account the growing up of the audience as they've grown up with them. Some really fun. There's an 80s, I'm not going to give any spoiler, but there's an 80s style music video kind of homage segment in this movie that could have fallen really flat and instead had my audience completely in hysterics. So I'm happy for its success. It's even more ahead of where I thought it would be right now. But anyway, Rob, what do you think about this, and how far do you think it can go north of that $1 billion mark?
Well, I mean, I could see it doing Lion King business. You know, what John Favreau's remake of The Lion King did. Obviously, The Lion King's been around for a lot longer than the Frozen franchise, but people love Frozen. You know, I mean, I think every girl in America, actually every girl across the planet probably loves Frozen now. And you know, this is the kind of movie where I imagine parents are being asked to go see it again and again and again. It's that repeat viewing that gets this kind of box office. So sky's the limit. I could see this doing 1.5 even. You know,
really?
I mean, with at this rate, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the worldwide numbers, but people love this franchise. And, you know, once again, there's going to be all of these think pieces written about how Disney's dominating the box office and they're sucking up all of the money. And that's true, but they're providing the spectacle entertainment that nobody else is doing, and I think it's fantastic. I mean, John, we did say that Disney was going to have what, $7 billion grosses this year. Is this 5 or 6 for them? I mean, who knew Aladdin was going to? It's and then of course, you know, in addition to this movie, which is doing. I mean, who would have thought these numbers would have happened? I just like the fact that movies in general, that list you just read, Queen and Slim, Ford v Ferrari, Knives Out, Frozen 2, I mean, a bunch of brand new original films and a sequel. I mean, this is a very vibrant time. And we had The Irishman drop on Netflix. If you love movies, this is a great place to be at.
It's a good month.
It's a good month. It's good for exhibitors, and everyone's talking about, streaming is going to be the death of movies. Well, not yet. And I love that people are going. I love that the crazy amount of money. You know, when everyone goes to the movies, it makes people just love movies all the more. And I've always believed that if a movie like Frozen 2 makes a lot of money, it has a spillover effect. People are like,
I agree.
Let's go to the movies again.
Yep, I completely agree, and it's good for everybody. It's good for everybody. And it'd be important for guys like Martin Scorsese to keep that in mind. Sorry, I didn't mean to trash that up. I forget that I said that.
I watched The Irishman twice.
Anyway, I did too. As a matter of fact, guys, I want to know, what do you guys think about these numbers that Frozen 2 is coming in at? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Eric Walters, who writes, "Hey, John. I'm loving The Mandalorian so far, and in my mind, the series gets better and better. The fourth episode, Sanctuary, was completely fantastic and reinforced the show's true old Western style influence. But I'm hearing some people complain that it was just filler. How did you see the episode?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, the newest episode, I was in Vegas, and we didn't have Disney Plus in the room. So all of us, about four of us who were there, gathered around a coffee table and my iPad and just launched up The Mandalorian, and we watched Sanctuary that way. And I will tell you this. While I did not quite like episode 4, Sanctuary, quite as much as episode 3, I think it's my second favorite episode. I loved it. And I loved it on several levels. And in response to this notion that it was a filler episode, I want to present a couple of arguments here that you may agree with or disagree with, but I want to present a couple of arguments here of why I feel that this episode was not just wonderful, but pivotal and important. And so much stuff happens and is accomplished in this episode alone. Let me go over some of the things about reason why I think this episode of The Mandalorian, episode 4, Sanctuary, was so important. Number one, as you mentioned in the message yourself, it entrenches the Western motif of the show. That has been important for Jon Favreau to never let up on this point. It's not just an element of it is kind of a Western or one episode is kind of... Jon Favreau really wants to drive home, this is the Wild West in space. This is the outer frontier of the galaxy, and this all within the container of a Star Wars film. And I think when he picks up and does episodes like this, and by the way, this episode directed by Bryce Dallas Howard.
She did a wonderful job.
She did a really nice job on this, so well done to her. But anyway, I think this episode does even more to reinforce that fact that this is truly a Western we're watching. Almost more, not quite as much more, but almost more than the fact that it's a sci-fi epic. And I thought that was great. Number two, we see more development in the character of Mando than we've seen in any of the episodes. We've actually seen, look, it's important for a story that not only as the story progresses, we need to see a change happening in the lead character. That's a hallmark of all great films. We see change happening within the character themselves. And I would contend that we've seen more evolution and more change in Mando as a character in this episode. We see him changing without ever seeing his face, by the way. But he did have his helmet off this episode, sitting there eating, by the way, in a totally open window where everybody could have just looked in the window and seen him, but whatever. So, but he
was in the shadows, John.
He was in the shadow, lots of shadow, very Batman-ish of him. But we see more of his development and evolution here than in any of the other episodes. And by the way, we had a number of weeks of time lapse as well in this episode. And I thought that was incredibly key and very important moving forward. Number three, the evolution of the Mando and Baby Yoda relationship. Listen, in everything else, in all the episodes we've had up till now, and there's only been 3, but it's been, we can tell that Mando has a connection, he has an emotional connection to in some way, shape, or form, like he feels empathy for this creature, whether it's because of it's his own origins as a foundling himself and as an orphan himself, or whatever, but there's something there, and there's this connection, so he's not just going to leave it to die with the former Imperials, he's not just going to let some bounty hunters kill it, he feels kind of a need to take care of it. This episode, though, I contend, takes that relationship and bounds it forward. Because now, not only does he have some emotional tether to the character, he's emotionally invested in Baby Yoda. He cares about Baby Yoda. Whereas in the first couple episodes, he almost feels like some way an honor-bound kind of idea of a responsibility to this little creature, and I'm sure we'll find out more on that why in future episodes. But this one went beyond that. He now legitimately has affection for this kid. He now wants what's best for this kid. And even to the point of being willing to leave the kid behind if he thinks that's what's best for the kid. Not best for him, best for the kid. And I think that's incredibly important in storytelling. Rob, you always say character, character, character. And they were focused on their development on the characters here, and I thought that was key. Anyway, number 4. It gives a new environment that we've never really seen in Star Wars before. John, we've seen forests before. I'm not talking about the forest. This was the first time really, it almost felt a little bit like a Firefly episode in some way. The first time that we actually get a little local village of human people, daily lives in and out and stuff like that. And we've never had that in any really sort of incarnation of Star Wars before, at least not in a live action setting. So I thought that was breaking new ground as well. Number 5, it introduces us to a new character without the normal standard coincidence that that character was also a part of the main overall story. What normally happens in stories like this is the Mandalorian will come across somebody else who's trying to get away from the Bounty Hunters Guild, or somebody else who's got it in for Werner Herzog's former Imperial. No, this was encountering a new character on a totally separate thing, and I thought that was valuable, and I thought that was really good the way they handled that. So, to me, on top of all that, just the great quality of it, and it was clearly 3 amigos in space, which is great, or you can call it the Magnificent Seven in space, or you can call it the Seven Samurai in space, but whatever. Had that classic story element into there with Star Wars. For so many reasons, I thought it was great, but more than that, Rob, for so many reasons, I thought it was actually pivotal and accomplished some very important things. So that was my take on this episode of The Mandalorian. You had a chance to check out this episode of The Mandalorian Sanctuary. How did you see it? Do you see it as something propelling it forward? Did you see it maybe just as filler? Some other people have watched it and experienced. How did you see it?
Well, I feel the same way about this episode as you do. It's not filler at all. What I also love to add to what you said, I liked how we learned more about the Star Wars universe since the Empire fell at the end of Jedi. There's equipment lying around. Some group of some jerkhead bandit dudes who want to victimize people. Well, somebody was able to get the keys to an ATST, and it was not clearly well maintained. It was very dirty, and it had been around for a while, and they'd been using it. I love how Bryce Dallas Howard shot it like it was a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes.
Yes. It was like the whole thing was like a creature. Obviously, her time spent on the Jurassic World sets were well spent. I love the idea that, well, when was the last time you took the armor off? The Mandalorian's like, well, yesterday. It's not like he leaves it on. Like, I'm wondering, does he wash his clothes? Yes, he does. He probably polishes his armor. He takes it off. It's just that he can't allow other people to see him. Of course, when he eats, especially soup, he's got to take his helmet off. No, I thought I misjudged this show, and now I've figured out what Favreau's doing. He is absolutely telling a classic Western story, and each episode, he's going through these well-worn Western tropes, putting it in the Star Wars universe, which is what Star Wars did originally.
Yes.
It took samurai movies and movies like The Hidden Fortress and Seven Samurai and sort of mixed them up, and that's what he's doing. He's just going back, and because people today, they're not well versed in the Westerns. So what we're doing is we're getting sort of a primer to the entire Western genre through the eyes of Star Wars. And I'm really loving this. And I think if I were to venture a guess, we're going to lead up to either it's going to be a Wild Bunch ending or it's going to be some big standoff like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, we've seen fights, but something big. It's leading up to something big. And I love Gina Carano. Cara Dune. I mean, I've always liked Gina Carano. I mean, a lot of people talk about her acting, but I've always liked her as a presence. I thought she was fantastic in this episode. I love the way she looked. I have a mad crush on her. God, she's beautiful.
Ironically, you do know what her name in American Gladiators was.
I don't.
Crush. You just use the word yourself.
Well, there you go. So I've got a crush on Crush. I really liked her. I liked the whole relationship they had. That meet cute when they were fighting, with the guns pointed at each other. I'm like, I wanted when this show first started, I'm like, ooh, I hope it's going to be this I don't know what I expected, but now that I know what it is, and rather than judging it, I can sit down and sit back and go, I really like this. I like what's happening. I understand. Could the show be more in depth? Could it be much? Sure, but that's not what this is. What this is, I'm all about authorship. Favreau has written every episode so far. He's obviously overseen the direction. We've seen Deborah Chow, who knocked out of the park. Bryce Dallas Howard knocked out of the park, and we're getting. I think this show is exactly what they wanted it to be. And now that I know that it's not like I'm watching something that I don't think is working. I think John Favreau knew exactly what he was doing, and I think this show is giving us exactly what he intended. And now that I'm settled in and understand that, I am loving this show.
So the question here is, guys, what did you think of episode 4 of Mandalorian Sanctuary? Did you there are some people out there who saw it and they kind of they felt disappointed. They felt it was filler. I thought it was fantastic. Rob obviously liked it. What did you guys think of it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to our 4th main topic today. And our 4th main topic today gets submitted to us by Ronaldo M, who writes, did you see the newest poster for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker? It's actually the first time we see anything related to Luke in any of the marketing. I love it. Do you think the prominence of Luke in the poster may hint at how big of a role he has in the movie? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for sending in that question, man. And for those of you who don't know what Ronaldo is talking about, the new IMAX poster for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker has been released. In case you haven't seen it, this is our look at it right here. That features 4 characters. We've got 2 new characters, by new characters I mean new to the newest movies, in Rey and Kylo, and the 2 surviving original classic characters in Leia and Luke. But as Ronaldo pointed out, the key thing here is this is the first time they've ever shown Luke. They have not shown or even any sort of representation of Luke in any of the posters, in any of the television spots, in any of the trailers, in any of the anything. This is the first time they're actually giving us a little bit of a glimpse at Luke. So it raises a question. Is there some kind of meaning and significance to this? Or is this just a very interesting idea for a poster showing the two primary characters of the new with the 2 surviving primaries of the old? And they're just putting that together there. Some people take a look at this poster, Rob, and say, it's the 4 Skywalkers! That means Rey's a Skywalker! And jumping to conclusions. Some people are thinking it means that Kylo Ren has grown his hair under his helmet. Some people even looked at this poster, which is, by the way, they confirmed that no, it is Luke. But some people looked at this poster and see if you look at it a certain way, it almost looks a little bit of a profile of Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Which, you know what? At first I thought that's idiotic, but then I looked at it, it's like, no, I could see that. So I take it back. I could sort of see that, but they have confirmed that it's Hamill. So I look at this poster, I'm thinking, okay, primary question. Is there meaning in this poster, is there not? Now, it should be pointed out, with all of the Star Wars posters and images that have come out since, The Force Awakens was approaching, everybody has always looked for the secret hidden meanings in the posters. And it turns out there's never been any. Just something to point out, that every time there's been a new poster for any of the movies come out, we have always, me included, you included, we have always started looking, where's the hidden meaning in this post? Oh, there's the... Turns out there never was. And it's likely that there isn't here. So then it brings on a secondary question. Does this poster, in any way, shape, or form, because Luke is kind of prominent, does this suggest that Luke is actually going to be more than just a 10-minute Force Ghost presence? Could it suggest that there's more to it if he's going to feature this prominently in it? I'll tell you what my personal philosophy on this is. I think I lean towards the simple, most basic solution here. It's the 2 primary characters of the new with the 2 surviving primary characters of the old. And that's it. I really don't think there's anything more to it beyond that. And I think it looks great. I love the fact how Luke's hair kind of intermingles with what looks like maybe Kylo's hair coming out. I thought that was creative. I love having Leia on the poster. But in as much as I don't think, and we already know, Leia has less than 10 minutes in this movie. We know that. So, and she's on the poster. And since she's on the poster and has less than 10 minutes, I don't think Luke being on the poster necessarily suggests that we're going to get some big, grand, epic thing around him. Maybe we do, and I would love it if we did, but I'm guessing we don't. Rob, you look at this poster. What do you see?
I think it's an awesome poster, but it's just, to me, it's just marketing. I'd get this poster. I like this poster. I don't, the people that make movie posters are not sitting there necessarily thinking, ooh, how much more meaning can we spoil this movie? No, because it's just another piece of marketing. I think it's a nice poster. I have to tell you, I've watched every single episode of every YouTuber who's talked a lot about test screenings and all this stuff. And despite all of that, I actually have found myself getting excited for this movie, John. And I have said, I see a poster like that and it makes me excited again. Now, I have not been a fan of this sequel trilogy at all. I like Last Jedi more than I like Force Awakens, though. And I think, I don't know why, that we might be getting something pretty great when this movie comes out in less than 3 weeks, John.
To be specific, I'm going to the premiere in 2 weeks today. And then 2 weeks and 1 day from now, I'm going to go see it again. And then 2 weeks and 2 days from now, I believe it hits theaters. So we have got or 2 weeks and 3 days, whatever. You're right. It's less than 3 weeks away. And we're going to find out. It's very exciting. But listen, guys, I wanted to know what you guys thought about this. So I made this the topic of today's question of the day. So just before the show started, I threw up on Twitter this little, a little question asking you guys, what do you make of this poster? Again, I just put this up, and right now, almost 1,000 of you guys have already responded to it. And the question was simply, with Luke featured on the new poster for Rise of Skywalker, do you think there is hidden meaning in the image, or that it's just a promotional image, or that it's, or just, the two old ones, the two new ones? Right now, 68% of you guys are saying it is just a promo image, a nice promo image, but just a promo image. But a solid 32% of you guys right now are thinking, you know what, there could be more to this altogether. It's called Rise of Skywalker. The three other Skywalkers, is that saying that Rey is a Skywalker? Luke's so prominent. He doesn't look like a ghost. Is Luke back in the flesh? I mean, a lot of people looking for a lot of meaning, me too, but 32% of you are saying there could be hidden meaning. So I'm going to leave this up for the rest of the day, guys. Question is, what do you think about the image? Do you think there's hidden meaning in it? Or do you think, no, it's just a good, solid image to promote the movie? How do you guys see it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Blake Adams, who writes, I honestly thought the day would never come, but did you see that Avatar 2 has finished shooting? I almost didn't believe it. It feels like forever coming, but does the wrap on shooting make you feel confident that they'll make the 2021 release date this time? Or do you think it'll just get pushed again? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And I'm with you, Blake. It doesn't seem real. It feels like an internet rumor, a myth, that Avatar 2 is actually finished shooting. Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the first time they announced a release date for Avatar 2, I believe it was 2017. I believe 2017 was originally supposed to be when Avatar 2 would come out. And then that got pushed. And then it got pushed. And then it got pushed. Now we're sitting on 2021. Now, the reason we know that it is wrap shooting is because they actually got online and they posted on Twitter that, hey, yeah, we're done. They wrote that's a wrap, Navi Nation. It's our last day of live action filming in 2019, and we're celebrating with a sneak peek. Check out this photo of the aft deck section of the Sea Dragon, a massive mothership that carries an array of other seagoing craft in the sequel. So that's interesting. But there's something I do want to point out. And I sent in a request for clarification. I've not heard anything back. It was the Thanksgiving long weekend, so I get it. So I haven't heard anything back. While a lot of outlets are reporting that it's done, it's wrapped, and I heard the same thing. I heard it's wrapped. But I do want to point out, just for argument's sake, the wording of this social media message. The wording is specifically, it's our last day of live action filming in 2019. It is conceivable that they're just about to take a 2-month break of shooting and they're going to come back and shoot again. Well, look, with any big blockbuster film these days, you assume there's going to be a period of reshoots. So that I get that. There's going to be reshoots. There are for all big blockbuster movies. That's the normal procedure of things these days. I understand that. So maybe they're just saying, yes, principal photography is wrapped, but we already know we're going to come back in February and do pickup shooting and just do some reshoots or whatever. Maybe that's what they mean, or maybe they're saying they're just taking a 2-month break. What most people are reporting is that it is wrapped, so I'm just going to go with that for now. But I did want to make sure you guys were aware of this little bit of a wording anomaly in here because, I don't know, maybe it's not. But let's assume for the moment that it is a wrap. Question then becomes, okay, because for the longest time, Rob, I've had to adopt the I'll believe it when I see it that Avatar 2 is actually happening. Doesn't matter how many pictures James Cameron posts from the set, I'll believe it when I see it. Do I actually believe with this new revelation, all that kind of stuff, that they're actually going to hit this 2021 release date? Here's what I'm going to say to it. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Yes. I think this movie is going to hit its 2021 release date. I really do. I think it's a done deal now. Number one, because it does seem like they have purpose now. They are actually wrapping on their shooting and stuff like that. But almost more importantly than that, Rob, James Cameron doesn't have as loose of a leash as he used to have under Fox. Under Fox, James Cameron could just kind of call his own shot. Deservedly so. He's James Cameron. Can't quite have that much leeway under Bob Iger. Bob Iger's doesn't give you as much leeway. He doesn't give you as much leash. So when you combine these things about the shooting progressing, maybe all wrapped, the fact that it's under Disney, I gotta say, and I can't believe I'm saying it, Rob, I do believe this movie is going to hit its 2021 release date. So there you have it, guys. I think it's a done deal. Anyway, Rob, you see this, and how do you interpret this whole thing?
Well, first of all, it does not say wrapped. It says we finished our live action shooting for 2019. It doesn't say anything about if they had wrapped production. This is a movie term. It's really one of my new things is being irked by people that don't understand the meaning of certain terms, such as having a finished cut.
Oh, please don't get us into that.
I'm just saying, and what in this particular tweet, they never said that they have wrapped filming on Avatar 2. If they had wrapped filming on Avatar 2, that's what they would say. They would say, we have wrapped filming on Avatar 2. They said we finished live action photography for 2019. Well, because maybe they have other things to do. Remember, these movies, there's motion capture. There's so many parts to this film that maybe this part of filming, they have to go somewhere else to film more live action filming. So they've been on a tank and on a set. How long they've been there, I don't know. But maybe they have to go to New Zealand to shoot. So it is irksome when I hear that, they have wrapped. It does not say that. It does not say that. And that's a very specific thing to say. They didn't say that here. I don't think they're done shooting. But that said, I think you're absolutely right. They're absolutely going to make their 2021 release date because Disney shareholders are going to want that beautiful, beautiful cheddar coming in. And I don't know how you top the year that Disney's having this year, but they're going to need their potential $1 billion or $2 billion grossers because there ain't going to be that many Star Wars movies coming down the pike.
Yeah, and listen, and I'm on record. I don't think Avatar 2 makes $2 billion. I think it makes one. I think it joins.
Depends
$1 billion
how good
club.
it is.
That's the thing, because let's keep in mind, nobody thought the first Avatar was going to make $1 billion. Especially, and a lot of people forget this. The first Avatar movie, its opening weekend, didn't even crack $100 million, and it went on to become the reigning, biggest box office film of all time for nearly a decade strong. So nobody thought that thing was going to make $1 billion. So I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think it'll make $2 billion, but I do think it'll make $1 billion. But you're right. If this thing comes out and it's the new classic, yeah, we could see what happened with Titanic and with what happened with Avatar. People just kept going and going and going and going. It's possible. I don't think likely, but it's possible. And because it is James Cameron. And listen, you shouldn't be in the doubting James Cameron business. It's not a good business. Not a lot of success in that business. So you got to be careful with that. So here it is. Question is, guys, with all the stuff coming out now, with who this movie is under now, do you actually believe that Avatar 2 will actually make that release date? That the long wait will finally be over? Or do you expect sometime in the next year they're going to hear, okay, now it's going to be 2022? What do you guys think? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all that down, we're now going to go over and take your live questions that you guys have been firing in. But before we do, we're going to take a little bit of a short break here, give us a chance to just rest the vocal cords, stretch our legs, refill our drinks. So we're going to just take 4 minutes. So if you guys will hang tough, don't go anywhere, talk so much yourselves. We will be right back. See you in just a couple of minutes. And we are back. Wasn't that a quick 4 minutes? Damn clock. I forgot. Are you okay? Look, full disclosure, normal operating procedure is I go, we'll be back in just 4 minutes. Then we bring up the clock. Then it takes me about 5 seconds and I get the clock started. And I was so anxious to get downstairs and get my drink refilled that I totally forgot to start the clock. Anyway, we're off to a wonderful start here on today's the open question segment. All right, let's move over to it now and start taking those live questions. The first one we're going to start up here is from Ketchup on Eggs, who wrote, finally, now a couple of these, by the way, just want to point out, a couple of these got submitted by you guys using the tip feature during the weekend. So we have a few to get caught up on here. Ketchup on Eggs writes, finally enrolled into A-List, almost got Regal Unlimited, but they have a convenience fee with every ticket. Yes, they do. And a year commitment. By the way, did you have a big old plate of me, Ketchup on Eggs, for Thanksgiving? Happy holidays to you and everyone in the John Campea crew. And yes, it is true that the Regal Unlimited does have a surcharge with every time you order. And if you get it on a bigger screen or the bigger movie, you pay a bigger surcharge. I still contend, though, AMC A-List is the better deal. It is. But even with those convenience fees and surcharges they give you on the Regal Unlimited, if that's the movie theater you have close to you, I still completely contend it is absolutely well worth it. If you're somebody who goes to one movie a month, not worth it. But if you go to 2 or 3 movies a month and you want the option to do a couple more, it is a great value. Rob, let me ask you, you got an AMC to your left, a Regal to your right. You have to pick one of the 2 subscription services. I would just buy both, but which one do you get? Does the convenience fee, is that a little bit of a deterrent for you?
I think it is a deterrent for me. I mean, I would go with the AMC, I think. Because if you go see a lot of movies, that fee can add up. And the whole point of buying a subscription is to know how much you're going to pay every month to go see movies. And with that surcharge, you forget. It's something that I would go with AMC.
All right, but still, if you didn't have an AMC near you, I still contend it's a pretty good deal for you.
No, it's absolutely it's a good deal. Depending, of course, though, on how many times you go to the movies.
Yes. You go just once a month, not worth it. But neither is AMC. If you only go once a month, even the AMC deal is not worth it. But if you go more than once, you should absolutely sign up for that. All right. Next one, Joshua Manis sent in a $50 tip, which means, Joshua, I actually answered your question in its own standalone video. If you, by the way, guys, if you send in $50 or more, and I don't expect many people to do this, but if you do, your question actually gets answered in its own standalone video. You can look on the front page of my YouTube channel and scroll down to see the playlist user-submitted topics. So I did answer this one already, but Joshua, you wrote in, "Hi, John, there are a lot of theories about Rey who is and will be. How do you feel about her being Darth Plagueis reincarnated? It would explain her staff from the beginning and the lightsaber we see in Skywalker. I think it would be awesome." I explained the video. Here's a quick 20-second summation, but you guys can go and watch the whole video. I think it's unlikely. Because when you look at the tenets of reincarnation, all the stuff from the different mythologies and the religious beliefs and the philosophies in our world, and Star Wars has always drawn a lot from these things in our world, but it doesn't seem to match up with that particular theory. Anyway, I go more in depth of that in the video below. Oh, I also want to mention one other thing, guys. I did a companion video yesterday for all the outstanding questions from last week, and I set it to publish last night, and then I went to bed. It didn't publish. There was a problem with the upload, but not to worry. I've now got it all uploaded. All I have to do is hit publish. So about maybe 45 minutes after the show is over today, I'm going to publish that companion video. For those of you who've been waiting for your questions to get answered, my apologies that it didn't go up last night. It will be up a little bit later today. Just keep your eyes open for that. All right, let's keep on moving now. Next one up. Film Boss writes, one of two. If you go to the beach, go down to the water. It's cold. You're not sure if you want to go in. There's a pretty girl standing next to you. She isn't sure either. She sees you. And you know that if you just ask her name, you would leave with her. Forget your life, whoever you came with, and just leave the beach with her. After that day, you remember her. Not every day or every week. She comes back to you. It's the memory of another life you could have had. Today is that girl. From what I contend, Rob, is a massively underrated film, Changing Lanes, Ben Affleck, Samuel L. Jackson. I remember, Rob, when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, one of the movies that I would constantly go back to express why I was excited about the casting. There's a lot of different reasons I was excited, but I would often go back to, you guys have not seen Changing Lanes. If you want to see how powerful he can be as an actor, you have to go see Changing Lanes. And so few people did. And that movie's just dynamite. Did you ever have a chance to watch that one, Rob?
I love Changing Lanes. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think I've always liked Ben Affleck. I mean, I feel that the people that don't like Ben Affleck just remember his ridiculous. He was great in it, but he was such a douchebag in Dazed and Confused, which was one of his first movie roles. I mean, such a douchebag. He gets paint dumped on him. He wants to paddle all the freshmen. I mean, he's just a goon. But a great goon. And I think he's got an incredible filmography in terms of acting and directing. I mean, I think the guy's a powerhouse. And even his portrayal of Batman, it's so funny that everyone thinks, ooh, I'm so surprised. But you and I, when Ben Affleck was announced, I'm like, I liked him in Daredevil, and my problems with Daredevil weren't with Ben Affleck. It was, for me, there was no verisimilitude. You're constantly going between CGI and live action and set bound stuff. But I think he's great. Yeah. And by the way, what a cool sentiment. You know, that what that viewer sent in. I love that idea. Today is that girl. Every day is that girl, John.
It is.
Every day is that girl.
And guys, please, seriously, do yourself a favor. Watch Changing Lanes. It's a really great little movie. Anyway, Mohammed Osaman writes, "Hey, John. As a mental exercise, I sometimes wonder what the most engaging entertainment medium is. Between books, films, music, and games, which art form would you say involves the highest level of engagement and immersion? Thanks." To me, it's movies. Now listen, I love television. I've been raving about a lot of shows lately. But to me, there's something about the art form of the film that you need to tell your story. You have to introduce the characters, introduce the concepts, flesh them out, and bring it all to conclusion in 2 to 2.5 hours. And you have to do it all. And you get that whole thing in one shot, one experience. And when it's done well, to me, there's nothing else like it. Yeah, in television, you can tell some really deep, immersive stories, but you're in and out, and 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 you have all the time in the world, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. And you guys know me, I love television, but the art of making the movie, we have to do the whole thing in roughly 2 hours. To me, that's the most immersive, the most magical, and they're all the rest of them are great, Rob. I think all the rest of them are fantastic, but that's the one to me that really gets me. Which one would you lean towards?
Look. Movies are my favorite art form. I mean, it's you take all of the other art forms and you roll them into one with the added benefit of modern technology. And as technology increases, movies can get more immersive. And I mean, look, I love reading. I love reading a book. It's a different experience. But, you know, the idea of going into a movie theater, first of all, you have to go someplace. You go into this venue that's a very specialized venue. You're sitting with people you don't know, and you get to experience these great stories and these flights of fancy, and you get to feel things. I mean, literally, you sit in a box, a dark box, and you're shown images that elicit an emotional response from you. Sometimes many different emotional responses over the course of 2 hours. Wondrous, John. Wondrous. I love movies.
All right, let's move on here. Next one up comes to us from Jordan, who writes, "Hey, John, big fan. Thank you so much, Jordan. As a song and dance man, are you excited for Spielberg's West Side Story, his first musical? Many love the original Best Picture winner. Of course they do. But I think many works deserve to be retold. Do it all the time in New York with revivals. Thoughts?" I'll be honest with you, Rob, and this may surprise some people, because Steven Spielberg, I'm well documented saying, is my all-time favorite filmmaker. I think he is the GOAT. I think Spielberg is the best who's ever done it. I'm not that excited for West Side Story. And I'll be honest with you, I was intrigued that he was going to do a West Side Story. I'm surprised it got greenlit. I mean, who says no to Steven Spielberg when he's got an idea? Nobody. But I just don't know that's going to have that. And I don't know that it's one that fits the style of that musical. I don't know one that fits where we're at. So I'm totally open to having my mind changed. Totally am. But right now, this far in advance, I got to say I'm not excited. But maybe once the trailers start dropping, it will be. Where are you sitting on this one right now?
You know, I'm kind of with you. I love the original West Side Story. I love it, love it, love it. But, you know, again, it was a period, it's of a time. And I'm like, I would rather have seen Steven Spielberg. If I wanted to see I want to see a musical that he was making since the opening of Temple of Doom in '84. I've wanted to see him tackle a big budget musical. And I just think now, again, I'm not that excited about West Side Story because I love the original so much. I've seen the original 20 times, including many times in 70 millimeter. But I'm just like, I don't know, man. A period piece, I don't know. I mean, if he was doing something else, I might be more excited. But like you said, when we see the trailer, I love West Side Story so much. It's just going to be weird seeing West Side Story that's new.
And is it going to be the same dance number?
Well, I mean, when you're a jet all the way from your first cigarette to your last dying day. I mean, it's going to be so weird not to see that, but see those same numbers. I don't know.
And it's again, and I'm going to be watching this going, Man, the Sons of Anarchy would kick the shit out of you guys. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Stay cool, boy.
Stay cool.
I got a rocket in my pocket.
Murray Reich writes, saw Knives Out. The casting was superb. Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas performances were great. Although it is not my top 10 of the year, it is one of the best pleasant surprise movies of 2019. And Rob, I think that kind of sums up where you were at with that one too, right? Like it's not your top 5, probably maybe not top 10 of the year, but you really quite enjoyed it.
I really quite enjoyed it. I mean, that's what I thought it was a delightful time at the movies. It's why you go see films. And I really, even though it's a small movie, in terms of its locations, it's pretty much set in a house. There's stuff, but it's beautifully made. And it's so much fun to watch.
I by the way, I've got a soft spot for one location movies.
Me too.
I got a little bit of a soft spot for those. Murray Reich also writes, one of two. During my Knives Out viewing, I arrived to the 8 p.m. showtime 10 minutes late to kill some time from seeing so many previews. But what I was shocked to see was that they were still showing ads. Then at 8:12, previews started. Then at 8:20, a short ad came up for showing 30 seconds of a deodorant ad. Then it went back to previews. Movie started at 8:30. This is the second time in less than a week that I've gone to 2 different Regal theaters and have played ads past the showtime. At what point do we just stop going? It's sickening. Murray, there is a phrase that was created just for this situation. It's called preaching to the choir. I'm with you, brother. I am with you. And you know what? I'm going to do this. I don't often, if ever, try to get people to coordinatedly do something on Twitter, but I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to make a special short video, a short one, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes long. That's basically, dear movie theaters, cut it out. And then I'm going to post it on Twitter and ask everybody who watches this show, when I put that tweet up, to retweet it and to send it out. And we're going to make sure we tag AMC Theaters, Regal, Cinemark, all of these culprits in this. And I believe there should be a law that says you got to do one of 2 things. Number 1, you either start the movie when you say you started the movie, or number 2, list 2 times. Say, show presentation begins at 7 p.m., movie starts at 7:26. If I am paying you a sum of money to come into your theater to watch what you advertise to me as a 7 o'clock showtime, you fuck well better be playing a movie at 7 o'clock. And I'm fed up with this. Your time is money. And Rob, you know what's been happening more and more? I've been getting messages from more and more viewers who are sending us like, damn it, Campea, I went to a movie and I knew it wasn't going to start at 8. So yeah, I killed some time, blah, 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 walked into the theater about 8:18. I missed the first 5 minutes of the movie because this time they only had 15 minutes of trailers, but the next movie I went to had 30 minutes. So they do that on purpose to try to trick you and manipulate you to be sitting your ass down that seat and watch their commercials that you paid to be there. I'm not going to get worked up. But I'm with you, Murray. This has got to stop. And I think we as film fans maybe need, look, I think, especially when it comes to movies, I think freaking, what do you call when you sign petitions? I think petitions are stupid, God useless.
Change.org.
Change.org. I think they're stupid as hell. But for something like this, I believe we are fundamentally being ripped off. And I think I'm going to put out a tweet. I'm not going to do a petition, but I'm going to put out a tweet. And when I do, I'll let all you guys know. And I'm going to ask everybody to retweet it and make sure these damn theaters start to hear our concerns. This should not be happening. Anyway. I go off on that.
It diminishes the experience, man. When I went and saw Knives Out, I went to the ArcLight. It's 3 trailers, and then the movie starts.
Does it right.
That's it. And the 3 trailers are just enough that it gets you excited about the movies, and then you've got that little bit of excitement. Then the light goes dark. It says ArcLight Theaters presents, and then the movie starts. And I love that. 3 trailers, and then the movie.
Yeah. It's just, they got to do something. They got to do something. Anyway, thanks for that, Murray. Benny95 writes, first James Bond trailer comes out on Wednesday. So keen, Rob. I know this is one you've been waiting for.
Dude, they released one of those mini trailers for the trailer. And even that, there's Gatling guns behind the DB5's headlights. This motorcycle drives upstairs and flies across a barrier wall. I mean, I can't wait. I cannot wait for this, John. So far, it's my most eagerly Dune and Bond 25. Woohoo!
All right, next one up. We got Anonymous who writes, "Hey John, happy holidays. Been an awesome weekend from eating turkey to Yoda sipping on some soup, and also no spoilers, but that big reveal about the truth of Dr. Manhattan. Haven't seen the show. So
yeah, bro. Don't
can't
even
talk about it. I haven't seen it, so no, guys, do not talk about it. But I'm going to be watching it a little bit later today. Actually, that's when I watch Watchmen Monday afternoon after I do the show. And then me and the Patreon supporters, we do our John Campea Show post-show chat on our Discord server. And then I go downstairs, make lunch, sit down, and watch that week's episode of Watchmen. That's my little routine right now. But I know you liked it a lot. You came in this morning kind of glowing about it, so I'll get caught up in that a little bit later. All right. The Mandalorian of Gondor writes, "Hey, John, been gone a while, but I'm back. Rise of Skywalker, 18 days. For me, it is 14. I got 2 weeks from today. I'm going to go see it. Might be the worst movie of all time. Maybe it'll be great. But I'm very excited about seeing it. And then all the questions will be answered, Mandalorian." All right. Andres Martinez writes, "Thoughts on Jeepers Creepers?" Oh, I talk about Jeepers Creepers all the time. I love that movie. Sequel, not so good. But that first Jeepers Creepers with Justin Long, by the way, is, I think, and I believe produced by Francis Ford Coppola, if I'm not mistaken, a wonderful little horror film. It's got scares, it's got some humor, it's got a creepy villain. I love that movie. Have you ever seen Jeepers Creepers?
Oh, yeah. God, I liked you. I love the creeper. What a great creature character.
All right, Elisa Rodriguez writes, and by the way, what's the proper pronunciation of Ana de Armas? Is the
Ana de Armas? I think so. She's Cuban.
I might be mispronouncing that, but anyway.
All I know is the proper pronunciation is smoking.
Yeah, and she's great.
I love her.
Anna in Knives Out was one of my favorite performances this year. Any chance she could get a Best Supporting Actress nomination? I think very unlikely. When you go to like a lot of the big outlets, main awards, when I'm talking about Variety and the Hollywood Reporter and things like that, it's the supporting actress thing is so stacked that it's unlikely. Never know though. Never know, because I think this movie overall in general is going to get some Oscar buzz, so it's possible. I think it's unlikely, but we'll have to wait and see. Fun Overlord X writes, "Can you believe Joker has made more than Justice League?" Oh, listen, that's a conversation we've had. But it is weird to think about. If you had told us, like, go back 5 years and say, in the next 5 years, guys, we're going to have a Justice League movie, a standalone Joker movie. That's not connected in any way to the DC universe. One of them's going to make $1 billion. One of them's going to make $640 million. All of us would have gone, holy crap, Joker's going to make $640+ million? No freaking way. How successful must the DC universe be? If you had told us at that time, Rob, that it was going to be Justice League that made $650 and Joker that made over $1 billion, nobody on this planet's believing you.
Nope.
None. It's a crazy number, Fun Overlord. All right. Angel Chang writes, if Avatar 2 catches Titanic, that would put Zoe Saldana in the 3 top grossing films ever. That will never be repeated again. That is crazy. True, but little asterisks. She happens to be on camera a little bit in Avengers, and she's not the main character or a main character in that thing, but it is true. That's going to be an interesting little trivia question in years to come. In that, if it does catch Titanic and join the top 3, which I don't think it will, but if it does, you say, what performer appears in all 3 of the top 3 box office films of all time? The answer is Zoe Saldana. Although right now she already does that for the top 2. You can already say that for the top 2, so there's that. But then you could add a third one, which you're right, Angel. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. Quinn Fowley writes, 1 of 3. Hope you and the family enjoyed Vegas. I did very much. The Irishman was pretty good, although I might need to rewatch it just to determine if its 3.5-hour runtime was warranted. Jay and Silent Bob reboot was not only funny as hell, but also super heartwarming. Can't wait to watch more of Kevin Smith's work in the future. And yet, I haven't seen the new Jay and Silent Bob. I need to, though, because I really do like Kevin Smith's work. I don't love every single thing he's done,
right,
but I really do quite enjoy his film. Rob, you and I were actually talking about The Watchmen a little bit when we came in. I quite enjoyed The Watchmen. The Irishman.
The Irishman.
I quite enjoy, a lot. I really like The Irishman, a whole lot. I thought it was great. The performances in it are tour de forces from Pacino, Joe Pesci, who I thought for sure was going to have some ring rust, but he has not skipped a beat. And then, of course, Robert De Niro. It's his movie. He is The Irishman. Fantastic. My one issue, and Rob, before I watch it, I heard a number of people saying, love this movie, love this movie. but it didn't need to be that long. I'm like, okay. And I watched it myself. I'm like, no, this movie didn't need to be this long. Because I was telling you just before the show started, Robert, I kept coming across scenes where I'd go, particularly my second viewing, I'd be watching and I'd pause and go, okay, what is accomplished in this scene, what they're setting up and determining, communicating to the audience in this scene, was already done in another scene 35 minutes ago. This scene didn't need to be in this movie. You could have taken this scene out. We wouldn't be missing anything. The story narrative would have been still completely intact because what is accomplished in this scene was already accomplished in another. The scene was good, but Scorsese was so self-indulgent in this movie. It's like every scene is good, so I want to keep it all in. And I remember, Rob, hearing Mel Gibson talk about, we've talked about this before, Mel Gibson doing the DVD commentary on Braveheart. And talking about, it's one of the best explanations I've ever heard in this. And he's talking about scenes that he cut out of the movie. And he's talking about this one scene in particular that they took 2 days to shoot this one big outdoor scene with all this work and they put in. And Gibson basically said in it, he goes, and the scene was great. It was a great scene. But I sat with my editor and we looked at it and the scene's great and I poured my heart and soul into it. We spent days outside in the mud doing it and blah, blah, blah. But I just said at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be in the movie. And so is the movie better served if we just remove it, even though it's a great scene? Yes. And then Mel Gibson said, cutting scenes that you really love that are really good and turned out great out of your movie, he says, is like sacrificing one of your children. But he said it was necessary because it makes the movie better. And I feel like I wish Martin Scorsese, who still made a fantastic movie. I loved The Irishman, I did. I really wish he would have listened to the Mel Gibson Braveheart DVD commentary before wrapping it up in the thing. Listen, every scene that was in was good stuff, but you don't just keep throwing in good stuff for the sake of having in good stuff. And I just felt there was a lot of redundancy in the movie. But that was me, Rob. What did you think about the runtime and how? Because I know you love this movie. I
loved it.
What do you think about the runtime?
It didn't bother me. I thought it whipped by. I was really absorbed by the film. I was telling you earlier that one of my dad's very good friends was head of the Hollywood Teamsters. So, I had heard stories as a kid. I knew who Jimmy Hoffa was, and I just was completely absorbed by its tone and its feel, and I was devastated by the end, man. The end of this movie, as I was calling it, they could retitle this movie Avengers Endgame, about all of the Martin Scorsese characters that he's been dealing with since Mean Streets. It was sort of the culmination of this whole. The whole genre of Martin Scorsese movies has a little pin put in it with this film, and I adored it.
All right, next up here, we get Harry Mudd, who writes, I saw I Lost My Body on Netflix this weekend. Very good animated movie, weird and dreamlike. I have not even heard of this one, Harry.
I keep hearing about this. People keep writing to me about this movie. It's about a hand that's looking for its body.
Is it a part of the Addams Family shared cinematic universe?
No.
No? Okay.
But everyone says it's a wonderful film. It sounds right up my alley. I got to watch this.
All right. Well, listen, Harry, I'm sure probably a bunch of people watching this right now are probably going to be jumping on Netflix. Check it out. Thank you for the recommendation, Harry. All right. Next up, Thanos writes, I can see Pesci or Pacino winning Best Supporting Actor. They're my top two for the award. It's hard to pick. Pesci really stands out to me because of how different of a character this is compared to Goodfellas and Casino, but man, Pacino is great too. I don't see Pacino getting a nomination. He's great in it though. Don't get me wrong. I think between him and Joe Pesci though, I gotta lean Pesci. Overall, I take Al Pacino, clearly. But I mean, for this one movie, the biggest surprise to me about The Irishman was it's been so long since we've seen Joe Pesci. And I thought for sure, especially acting along 2 other guys who have continued to work and all this kind of stuff and 2, icons of the screen, I thought his ring rust would really show. No way. He's so good in this. Again, I don't know if he's going to get a nomination either. I just don't know that he's going to get on, but De Niro is going to get a nomination, and he might even win. But I don't know. Did you see either of those two, Pacino or Pesci, getting a nom?
Yeah. I mean, both of them. But to me, Al Pacino was great the way Al Pacino's always great. I thought he was really great as Hoffa, but it was Pesci to me that gave this sublime performance. I mean, he played opposite the kind of character that Russell is. You would think he was a different kind of a person, but Pesci played him in a completely different way. I wondered, is Russell Buffalino, was he really like that guy? That sort of quiet, the most dangerous mobster in the United States that actually is this guy you kind of want to hang out with.
Right.
And I thought he could turn on the menace when he needed to. He'd just be quietly looking at you and you're like, oh, I'm in trouble. I thought the performance was amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was so good. All right. Draco Eris writes, my favorite Star Wars films in no particular order: Revenge of the Sith, The Empire Strikes Back, The Last Jedi. I've been binge watching the movies in chronological order. It's always interesting, Draco, to hear what different people's interpret. Like, to me, Revenge of the Sith, but Revenge of the Sith to me is the best of the prequels. I'll go that. I really enjoyed Last Jedi, but I don't have it near the top. But everybody's got their own unique order, and I've always find it fascinating to hear what people's different orders I would send in. Thank you for sharing yours, Draco. I appreciate that, dude. All right. I can't think of a good username writes. There are people hoping Knives Out flop because it's directed by Rian Johnson and they didn't like The Last Jedi. And we have a word for that. It's idiocy. It's absolute idiocy. Like, I've seen movies, Rob, that I don't like. Do I hope the next movie by that director is bad and flops? No, I want the next movie that director does to be awesome. I want to see it, and hopefully they do better. I may have my opinion about whether it will or will not be good.
Hundreds of people work on movies now. Hundreds.
Well, thousands sometimes.
And to want a movie to fail, to want the collective efforts of a bunch of people that are trying to bring you great entertainment to fail makes absolutely no sense to me at all.
Especially if you haven't even seen that movie to know if it's good or not.
I mean, people, I would say this, grow up. I mean, why would you want anybody's efforts, other human beings' efforts, to fail when they're trying to entertain you? Why would you want that?
What I also just don't get is, okay, you saw one movie that a director did. Listen, if the only Steven Spielberg movie I ever saw was The Terminal, and I know a lot of you guys like The Terminal, and that's great. I don't like The Terminal, okay? To me, that's Steven Spielberg's Bad Day at the Office. Okay.
Hook.
Well then, Hook us. Oh, don't even get me started. But why would I want his next movie to be bad? Why would I want that? And Rob, you put it right. Grow up. I mean, if you didn't like a movie he did, it's fair for you to say, I'm not looking forward to his next one. That's totally fair. Nothing wrong with that. It's like, I'm not interested in that movie because I saw something else he did and it didn't work for me, so I'm not interested. No problem. That's totally fair. That is a totally fair thing to say. But you're right. There are people out there who are actually hoping that Knives Out would be bad because I don't know if it feels like it would justify what they felt. Guess what? If you hated The Last Jedi and I don't know, Knives Out wins Best Picture of the Year, that doesn't invalidate the fact that you didn't like The Last Jedi. It doesn't invalidate it. You're still totally within your right as a subjective art form. You didn't like The Last Jedi. Even if Knives Out becomes the greatest film of all time, that does not undermine your opinion that you didn't like a previous movie he did. I love Spielberg, but there's a movie of his I don't like. Clearly there's a brilliant movie by Spielberg that Rob doesn't like. We all have that. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, this whole thing about people hoping it flops and fails, they didn't even see the movie yet. It's idiocy. It's absolute idiocy.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, why would you want to lead your life hoping other people fail doing something that can only wind up being delightful, hopefully?
Yeah, don't get it. Anyway, next up, Ali Hussein writes, dark side, light side question. Well, I'm going to be setting up a system, guys, where I'm going to be creating a hashtag system where, like, if you have a specific question for, say, dark side, light side, you start off with the hashtag dark. I don't really have that system in place yet, but it's coming. So I'll tell you what, Ali, I will address your question right now because I'll probably forget to gather it for tomorrow, and I don't have a system in place yet to gather up those hashtag questions, but I will. But for now, I'm going to answer your question here. I don't know if you have talked about this. Is it possible that Dark Ray we saw in the trailer was her twin sister? I would love to hear your thoughts in Christian about that. Well, actually, I can tell you right now, Ali, Christian and I have already talked about this, and we've talked about it on the show. Is the twin thing a possibility? Absolutely, it's a possibility. There are several strong possibilities. One, it's a nightmare, much like unto Luke's dark vision when he went down into the cave in Empire Strikes Back. Two, it's a twin situation. Twins is all the rage in Star Wars. Even in the EU, the twins, the solo twins.
Yeah.
And of course, Luke and Leia. So that's a big. So yeah, we talked about that at length. cloning is an option. That is a feasibility that they could do. So yeah, we've talked about it actually at length, Ali, that the twin thing, absolutely it's a possibility. I don't know that it's likely, but it's absolutely one of the feasible possibilities. Rob, do you got a position on that?
Again, like you pretty much summed it up. Who knows? I know it looks cool. But yes, is it a dark? Probably it's a vision. It could be a clone. I mean, it would make sense. It's a well-worn trope in science fiction to have a clone of someone. I mean, Star Trek Nemesis, Tom Hardy played a clone of Picard. I could see that happening. And if it is a clone, I hope they fight.
All right. Next one up here, we've got Richard Karate, who writes, John, will you do one of the straight out of the cinema reactions to The Rise of Skywalker? Yes. Okay, here's the thing. Every Star Wars premiere I've been to, the review and social media embargo for the movies has lifted as soon as the movie ended. I'm assuming that's the same case now. So if so, yes, I will come out and do a 1 minute quick reaction to it. That will be my plan. At the very worst, if they say we don't want any video responses to it until like the next day, at the very worst, I'll come out and tweet my reaction to it just like everybody else. But yes, my plan right now is to do a 1 minute quick reaction to the movie as soon as I get out of it. So I'll keep you guys updated. All right, Man Mountain Gherkin writes, I want to give thanks for how many good guys in movies have had their lives saved because the bad guy has given a speech before killing them. I was actually thinking about this the other day, Man Mountain Gherkin. That's a logical extension of that. And that's this. And by logical, I mean completely illogical. What happens when the good guy is sneaking around the enemy base and sees a couple of guards? They take him out. Bang, bang. They take out the guards before they see them. They sneak up behind them, do the, right? That's what they do. What happens when the bad guys catch the good guys from behind? Drop your weapon and stick your hands up. Now come with us. Wait a minute. 5 minutes ago, the bad guys were trying to kill them, and now you're just taking them prisoner? Like, so many heroes have won their movies because the bad guys have been merciful. It's like the guards got the drop. Okay, that's enough. Put your hands. Like, there's a big gunfight, right? Big gunfight. Heroes shooting them out, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they're surrounded. And do the bad guys just shoot them? No, they just go, drop your weapon. It is a standard trope that has happened in every show, every movie. I don't know how you get around that. But I do roll my eyes every time that happens, Rob. Do you have a particular guilty offender or any number of them that pop to mind when you think about that?
No, I mean, that's, in terms of movie tropes, there's one thing, it has nothing to do with this, but I hate when people can park in front of wherever it is they're going.
Oh, that's Anne's big one. She hates that one too.
Especially like in New York. Like, come on.
They just pull up in front of the building and there just happens to be this big open parking spot on the street of New York, right in front of the building.
When I go to the ArcLight to see movies in Hollywood with Elizabeth, there's one particular place we like to try and get to park, and if we get it, we're always like, hey, movie parking. Meaning, it's not just going to the movies, it's movie parking, meaning we shouldn't get this parking space, but we got lucky right in front of where we want to be. And it's but like you said, the villain trope, sure.
Anne calls that Costanza parking. Some of you will get that reference.
George Costanza parking.
All right, next one up here. Harry Mudd writes, this Watchmen episode was fragging awesome. I keep hearing that. I'm excited to watch it. I'm going to watch it a little bit later today, Harry. I'll let you guys know what I think. All right, Kieran writes, hey, John. I've been watching for a while now. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Kieran. I appreciate that, man. My local Cineworld opened last year, and they have a screen called the Super Screen. The combination of a huge screen and Dolby Atmos has officially ruined all other cinema screens for me. Well, and listen, Kieran, I remember I was still working at AMC with AMC Theaters. And I remember, and our studio was in this converted storage closet at AMC. And we were at the AMC Burbank 16, and they were prepping the first AMC Prime. And when it opened, I can't remember what the first movie was that I went to go see. I went to watch the first movie that was playing on it. And I just remember it had the motorized leather recliners, the dual laser projection system, the Dolby Atmos sound. And I just remember being in that theater and going, I've just ruined myself. Because now I'm going to go into the other, there's 15 other theaters in the AMC there. I'm going to go into one of these other theaters to watch another movie sometime, and I'm just going to be spoiled and just kind of lamenting out there. Dude, when you're in a good theater with good projection and great sound, particularly that Dolby Atmos sound, everything else just gets diminished a little bit, Rob. Like, do you have a particular favorite theater you like going to that's kind of ruins other theaters for you?
Well, I love the Chinese, where I'm going to see Rise of Skywalker. But I'll tell you, I think all movie theaters should provide the best picture and sound possible. And it's so strange to me that they've made premium theaters a selling point. All movie theaters should be premium. I mean, we just have forgotten to be demanding as audiences, because in this day and age with the technology that exists, every theater should provide the same experience you get in that Dolby theater at the AMC 16, which is amazing. All movies should get that treatment. Why do we have to have like a super theater? All theaters should be super theaters.
It is expensive, though. I mean, I remember when AMC was doing that conversion of the one screen into that. It was an expensive process.
No, it is an expensive process. It really is. You've got it. Look, speakers ain't cheap, and a good projection system isn't cheap. But that's what movies are all about. If we're not getting that, why are we going to the theaters and paying money in the first place?
Yeah. What really drives me nuts is the thing that you often bring up is when, okay, at least do the best, give us the best that you can.
Yes.
And then you go into a theater that has a good projector and they put their bulb at 60% brightness because they want to save bulb life and don't give you the best that they can give you.
I mean, the reason that why I know a lot of people don't like 3D, but one of the reasons 3D failed is because the presentation was never up to snuff. And people are like, I don't like this.
All right, next up here. Basil writes, I just think of Faulty Towers whenever I hear that name. Basil writes, trivia. When Star Wars first came out in 1977, France was still beheading people with the guillotine? Really? Capital punishment was abolished in France in 1981. The more you knew. I'm not surprised to hear that there was still capital punishment, but by beheading? Really? That's actually pretty interesting bit of trivia. That's kind of interesting.
I would like to have seen that.
That's kind of interesting. All right. Blake writes, so I find myself rewatching stuff just because they're on Disney Plus. That's a good thing, man. Rewatching Phantom Menace, and it had been a while. I forgot how jarring it was to see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon super speed around like the Flash. Hope Vegas was a blast. You know, yes, that first, by the way, I still to this day like the first 10 minutes of The Phantom Menace. And that, even that one scene when they're in the corridor and all of a sudden they're, and they go, it's like, okay, there's a new fast force ability. Okay. Why hasn't they ever used it before? I don't know. But it was pretty cool. I do not like The Phantom Menace. But there are things about it I like. And that first 10, 15 minutes is, you know, I actually thought I continue to think is actually pretty good. That opening sequence. Now, granted, the characters on the ships, we must disrupt all communication down there. I was like, yeah. By the way, watch the anti-cheese edit because it makes that so much better. Makes it so much better. But and I don't know. What do you think about that for those first time? That
dude. But my problem with the opening of Phantom Menace is they literally land and they go sit down in a room and wait.
Well, just for a minute.
I know, but they're just waiting there. I love when they start to wreck shop. That's the first time you see Jedis at the height of their power. I mean, it's very cool. But the opening, to me, it was wrong-headed, man. Wrong-headed. We should have been dropped right into some action. Not. Oh well, we're waiting for somebody to come.
But they set it up. They set up. It shows the Jedi as ambassadors. They weren't, because remember, the Jedi weren't just warriors. They're warrior poets. They're ambassadors.
They sit down at a table and drink some water. Like, come on, dude.
All right. Nick writes. I mentioned this on Rob's show yesterday, but you need to check out The Movies That Made Us on Netflix, currently featuring Dirty Dancing, Home Alone, Ghostbusters, and Die Hard. Forgive me. This is different. What's the series on CNN? Because CNN has a...
no, it's totally different. It's a series that was made by the people that made the toys that made us. And same production team, and
Which
go
is
back.
Amazing, by the way.
And it's this new show, The Movies That Made Us, is really good. It's almost like a great DVD extra. It's a documentary that goes into the production of these movies. How did these movies get made? And there was something I had a personal connection to, which was the Home Alone story. They told how it went from being a Warner Brothers movie to being a Fox movie. And I worked at Warner Brothers while this was going on, so it was really interesting to hear. And I'm glad that we get these stories told. I watched the Home Alone episode, the Die Hard episode, and they were both quite good.
All right, I got to check that out. Thanks so
You'll
much,
love it.
Nick,
You'll
for
love
bringing
it.
that up. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the tip. All right, Zelda writes, the Pacific Northwest stands no chance against the bold North, Robert Meyer Burnett. Skol Vikes. It's funny because I was just talking to Robert when he came in and said, should we go watch the Vikings Seahawks game later? But he's busy with his movie.
Well, I might be done, but
Let me know, because I'm watching, one way or another, I'm watching that game tonight.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I mean, yeah, by the way, you're wrong.
Because
Hello.
you've got, by the way, I think we got two. A lot of, I think Kirk Cousins is an underrated quarterback. I think he's better than people. And then you got Wilson playing at the height of his game right now. This could be a really fun game.
It should be a good game.
Much more fun than that Patriots game last night, who laid a frickin' egg. Dear heavens. All right, next one up. Fan of Peanuts writes, top 8 films so far. 8, Lighthouse. 7, Knives Out. 6, Ford v Ferrari. 5, Booksmart / Avengers Endgame tie. Number 4, The Farewell. Number 3, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Number 2, Honey Boy. And number 1, Joker. Nice list. I still haven't seen Honey Boy.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I'm going to watch it sometime in December. I'll get around to watching it sometime in December. And I don't have Lighthouse in my top 10. It's a fascinating movie propelled by two of the best performances of the year. But the movie is so freaking wacky. It's just, so I enjoyed it, but I'm still like, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
And again, Booksmart, what a great directorial debut for Olivia Wilde with Booksmart. I love that movie. So anyway, a couple of good ones on there to see. Okay, next up, Fan of Peanuts writes, haven't seen 1917 Star Wars or Marriage Story yet. Yeah, Marriage Story comes out December 6th. So like 4 days from now. So I'm going to be able to see that then. Adam Driver getting a lot of talk about a Best Lead Actor nomination at the Academy Awards for this, so let's keep our eyes open for that. Mickey Altieri writes, as someone who loved The Last Jedi and really every film of the Disney era, except the majority of Rogue One, I loved Rogue One personally, I realized that even though Rise of Skywalker is 2 weeks away, I have almost no excitement towards it, and that's kind of disheartening. I got to tell you, number one, I loved the They Fly Now clip. I loved that clip. But aside from that clip, I have not been over the moon about the trailers. I've liked them. Don't get me wrong, I've liked them, but I've not been over the moon. And you know what? After the debut of Mandalorian, Rob, you and I talked about this. I really expected Disney, to put the pedal to the floor and go whole hog on a big push for Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. And while I have seen a TV spot or two drop, they're going very conservative, which is really surprising to me. And they're not doing a great job getting everybody hyped up about it. I mean, great advanced ticket sales, that's good, but I feel like they're not doing a good job getting everybody hyped. How do you see it?
I'm with you. I mean, that Duel of the Fates trailer, though, that was bonerific, as I like to say. That was erection-inducing. I thought that was fantastic. But here's my problem. I'm a big, like you say, I'm always about the characters. And we haven't really seen anyone talking to each other. Like there's no interplay between these characters. And they've shown us the same imagery, like... I'm not that excited about horses riding across the top of a Star Destroyer.
But we don't even know what the context is.
I know,
that's the thing.
but
They
I find
haven't
it more
shown us. That's part of the frustrating thing. No context.
There's no context. There's no one's talking, and the stuff that gets me excited. I get intellectually interested as much as I'm viscerally interested in something, and I am not intellectually engaged yet. I've made a lifestyle choice to be excited about Star Wars this month. I'm in the throes of a Star Wars excitement. I might even build my die-cast Naboo fighter I've had for how many years now I haven't built. But I want, like you said, John, they're not, I mean, pull me in. I want somebody to hold me down, tie my vein off, and inject me with Rise of Skywalker excitement, because I'm not feeling it yet.
Yeah. I mean, Transformers movies, other than the first one, were totally crap, but man, they would get us excited for those movies.
Yeah.
Holy crap, they would do a good job getting us excited. I mean, they were all lies, but they got me excited. Tell me sweet little lies. And they're just, I don't know. Maybe they're like all holding up for a final 2-week push. I don't know. We'll wait and see, I suppose. Anyway, Zachary Bartran writes, Avatar 2 is finished shooting is a bunch of letters I never expected to see assembled in making a sentence. It's true. Now, again, like we pointed out, I mean... What is odd, though, Rob, I will say this, because I pointed out as well that the statement in the thing actually says we were finished wrapping for 2019, is it's unless you are now done principal photography and you're taking your long break before you come back for reshoots. 2 months seems like I mean, you shoot most movies in 2 months. Taking a 2-month break in the middle of shooting a movie when you've got your crew and locations and everything there, that seems odd. And that's one of the reasons, like, I hear some other outlets saying, they actually have done their principal photography. Like, okay, but it would seem odd to take like a 2 full month break if just in the middle of production. That seems odd to me.
I think it's odd as well, but these movies are not made like in the traditional sense.
True.
And I'm thinking that maybe they're shooting and then they take what they're doing and they do a quick assembly, because a lot of, obviously, it's so effects intensive, and they see where they're at. And if they've got everything, if not, they'll go back and get something else. Or maybe they're moving. Maybe they're moving to a different location. I don't know.
But normally, there's the word normally. Normally, when you're getting ready, like Lord of the Rings, so they're shooting all the stuff here, but while they're shooting, Peter Jackson has a 2nd and 3rd unit guy and a whole crew already off at the new location, already building it. So the moment they're done shooting on location here, they move over there and they start shooting right away.
It is odd, because even if you're going to take a holiday break, you'd probably shoot till mid-December and then let everybody out, let everybody off.
So it's going to be interesting to see, but I like the way you put that, Zach. Yeah. Letters I never expected to see assembled into that sentence. It's true. Mark DiRenzo writes, maybe, just maybe, Luke is resurrected by the Force by Rey. We've seen new ways the Force is being used with Leia in space. By the way, the Leia in space really wasn't that all new of a way. It was just a little nudge. Because remember, there's no air resistance in space, so just a little nudge and it would just send her sailing into the thing. So if you can move a lightsaber, you can be nudged forward in space. Not a big thing. That would be a huge thing. The resurrecting the dead is something Palpatine himself has been a lifelong quest of his, to be able to defy death and so I would just resurrecting the dead. Oh, new Jedi power, just resurrect the dead. That would seem a bit much. That would seem a bit. Now, I want Luke back as much as anybody. I'm still holding on to that glimmer of hope that he's not actually dead in the first place. But that is highly unlikely. So I don't know, Rob, could you see them going a resurrection route? Is that possible?
Nah, I don't think that's exactly what's going to happen. I don't think so.
But man, I'll keep my fingers crossed, dude. All right, Frankie G writes, Watchmen keeps hitting it out of the park. Latest twist, okay, you don't give it away. Latest twist was mind-blowing, totally unexpected for me. Also, they're going place no other TV show ever dared. Again, I haven't seen the new one. And, overall, I got to say this. I was enjoying Watchmen. Loved the last episode. It's the first episode that I just, really loved. So if you can follow that up with another bang. By the way, that last one, because when they showed the previews, Rob, for the last episode, that she's going to take the memory pills, and the whole episode is going to be her in some psychotropic state, going in and out of memories. I thought, that's going to be a throwaway episode.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe one of the best episodes of television I've seen all year.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now I'm really excited about this.
I think my favorite 2 episodes of TV might be that and the airplane episode of The Boys.
Oh, God.
The jetliner episode.
Oh, so strong.
But no, you know what? I was so adamantly ready to hate Watchmen. I mean, I went into it. I feel bad. I went into it with hate in my heart, John. I'm not a big fan of Damon Lindelof, and the Watchmen comic is one of my favorite things ever. So there was so many things stacked against this. But as it's moved along and I've seen what they're trying to do, even I must grudgingly admit this is some kind of masterpiece of television. All right, well, it really is.
I'm going to watch it in just a couple hours. All right, we move on now to, where are we? Ryan Lohner, who writes, the ATST from Mandalorian had a very, you were just saying this, Rob, had a very T-Rex vibe. It was directed by Jurassic World star, after all, and it really did. And you know what? Here's the thing about, when you get into big epic stuff like Star Wars or, a big battle scene in Avengers and all that kind of stuff, you lose a little bit of that awe and wonder about one thing. The ATST. And we usually see them running around with 18 other AT-ATs and then a few little ATST.
And it was almost like comedy relief. When you first see it in Empire Strikes Back, when you see it walking quickly, it's like, it's a chicken walker. What is that? You kind of laugh at it.
But you lose that sense of, holy crap, that would be a nightmare-inducing piece of death-bringing technology
Right.
if you were to actually encounter one. The video game does a pretty good job of that. It's like, there's an ATST there. Yeah, we're screwed. And for that, the way she was able to capture that, and you're right again, this is the very T-Rex kind of feel. I thought it was great. I love the way she did that.
Yeah, I did too. I really enjoyed it.
All right, last couple of questions here with Robert, because he's going to have to get going here. He's got some movie stuff to do. Bames John writes, which is more likely, a cameo/small role with Hayden Christensen as Anakin in Episode 9, or Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn in the Kenobi series? I'm hoping Qui-Gon will reappear, as he is my favorite Jedi. Listen, I'll tell you what, Bames, those are both possibilities. Now listen, I don't think Hayden Christensen is going to appear in Episode 9. But you damn well better believe it's a chance, because and I wouldn't have said that if he didn't make an appearance at Star Wars Celebration back in Orlando a couple of years ago. But when Hayden Christensen appeared on stage there, it opens up a lot of possibilities. And listen, I still don't think it will happen, but you better not put money on that, because I think there's a chance. There is a chance. It may be or not be a good thing, but it's a chance. I would say the bigger chance is Liam Neeson coming back as Qui-Gon. Because Liam Neeson's told stories before, he actually really liked the character. He really likes the Qui-Gon character. So I could see that. So I don't think either will happen, but I think they're both possibilities, and I would lean more towards the Qui-Gon one. What do you think, Rob?
I agree with you. I mean, I'd love to see, Hot Toys is putting out a Qui-Gon figure finally. And I think there's going to be a Qui-Gon renaissance happening.
I love the character.
I would love to see. He's my favorite thing by far you know what? I like Obi-Wan too and Phantom Menace, and I do like Darth Maul, but you don't really know anything about him. But I think Liam Neeson anchors that movie, and I loved his portrayal of that character.
I did as well. I really did. All right. Next up, Ryan Lohner writes, not ashamed to say I cried at the E.T. ad, and apparently Spielberg called it an official sequel. I haven't seen it. What is it?
Oh, you've got Elliot and E.T. back together, John. You know what? Like The Watchmen, I don't want to ruin it for you.
But what is what is it a commercial for?
I'm not going to. You just have to watch it. And also,
is it in Watchmen?
No. And there's also a Star Wars ad that was done for, I want to say Philippines television.
Okay.
That killed me too. Look that up. Look up the new Star Wars ad with the two kids making something for their friend, and watch the Elliot and E.T. thing.
All right. Next one up, Dan Emson, watched Knives Out, loved it. Wasn't too big on Craig's accent. I actually did like his accent a lot, but loved every bit of the movie. What did you think about the movie? Well, Dan, we've talked a lot about the movie, this episode particularly. I loved it. Like I said, I know Rob liked it quite a bit. Maybe not a top 10 movie for him, but he liked it quite a bit. To me, it's a top 3. I have it in my number 3 spot movie of the year. I absolutely dug it, man. Sandro Productions writes, hope you had a great Thanksgiving, John. I did. Thank you very much. Rob, you had a good Thanksgiving?
Lovely Thanksgiving. Lovely Excellent. Thanksgiving.
All right. Nosferatu writes, I love the super chat when the super chat throws out dad jokes. That's a true film punditry. Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know how it started. But starting about a month or so ago, people started firing just these really weird jokes. And some of them are kind of gold, I got to say. All right. Last one while Rob is still here. Ali Hussein writes, which movie do you think is better? A Simple Favor? You put Fever, but I'm assuming that you're talking about A Simple Favor or Booksmart. Ooh, that's a good question. Listen, Booksmart was, I believe, the smarter man's Superbad. I just thought it was I love that movie, and such a great directorial revelation for Olivia Wilde for her to make her debut. Simple Favor, though, was like my most pleasant surprise movie of the year. Not my number 1 movie of the year, but Paul Feig did. Oh my God, that movie's magnificent. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. They are 2 very different films. Okay. I might lean Simple Favor. But if you ask me tomorrow, I might say I lean Booksmart. I mean, they're both. Do you got a definitive favorite?
You know
out of
what?
the two?
I really like Simple Favor. I recently rewatched it with Elizabeth, but I have to give the edge to Booksmart because I think I think Booksmart resonates more with me emotionally, whereas A Simple Favor was a fun plot driven movie that was surprising. I didn't feel it as much. When I got to the end of Booksmart, I was surprised. First of all, I thought Booksmart had a twist in it that I felt was delightful in the beginning because I thought it was one movie and then it suddenly becomes like with Beanie Feldstein, my opinion was changed. And then by the time I got to the end of that movie, I found it surprisingly resonant with me. And it did really resonate and it made me feel something that I didn't expect. So I would give the edge to Booksmart, but A Simple Favor is a lot of fun to watch.
All right, I'm going to get two more with you here because a couple of you, I think you'd be good for here.
Okay.
Harry Mudd sends, "Hey Rob, miss the beard."
I can always grow it
great
again.
On you. I did, but I can't stand wearing one myself.
Well, it was funny to me because it wasn't me. Like maybe if I'm a little older or something, or maybe I'm just teasing myself and I'm in the midst of a middle-age crisis and I don't want to feel any more older than I already do. But I mean, I liked it, but I need to learn beard maintenance because if I'm going to have a beard or something, I want it to be as cool as Don Johnson's stubble in Miami Vice. And I was not doing, my beard game was not up to par. It was not where I wanted it to be.
Schwarzenegger from the new Terminator movie.
Yeah,
I thought it looked pretty dignified.
I thought it was good. I mean, people loved it, but I got to learn how to maintain it. I got to get the right proper equipment.
What's the proper equipment?
I don't know, but I didn't have it. And I like having the proper equipment, John. You're a big one for proper equipment.
Oh, yes. Well, it's innuendos. All right. Rob, that'll do it for your thing today. We will see you again tomorrow. Thanks again for being here. And listen, dude, where can people find you in your online adventures?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called The Burnett Work. My show is called Robservations. Find me there.
All right, dude, thanks a lot for being here, and we will see you again tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. All right, guys, we still have a bunch to get through. We got another 20 minutes or so. I think we can get through all the questions here today. So let's keep on rolling here. Next one up, Big Lou's Workshop writes, "Happy Monday, fellas. If you were not in the bubble, would you still watch all the TV spots for Star Wars, or would you avoid them to see them in theaters?" Oh, I would watch them all. Yeah. I would watch them all for sure. I'm just one of those. Now, there are some movies that maybe sometimes I think, there are heavy spoiler heavy stuff. Star Wars has never given away a lot of big spoiler stuff in their trailers or spots, so I wouldn't be worried about that. So yeah, Big Lou, I gotta say, there would be some exceptions sometimes, but I think for the most part, I would just watch them all. I don't think which is ironic to say because I don't think I've watched them all yet, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, Harry Mudd writes, "Make Frozen 3 a horror movie." Hey, listen, if they follow the pattern, they very well could, because Frozen 2 is definitely a darker and more mature movie. And if they decided to follow that right through in straight up horror where, I don't know, Elsa goes crazy and starts murdering villagers with icicles, I'd be down for that. It'll never happen, by the way, but I'd be totally down for that. All right, Cinema Reviews writes, "Ryan Johnson says he's open to Knives Out sequels." God, I hope so, man. I hope so. Because I am completely down to have a 5-6 movie series of Detective Blanc. I'm totally down for that. To see Benoit being played by Daniel Craig, I am down for watching. So I hope he does, and I hope it does well financially because the movie deserves it. It's really, really a quality movie. Big Lou writes. Big Lulu, I should say, writes, "Hey, John and Rob," just missed Rob, unfortunately, "from Argentina. I watch every day with my son." Oh, thanks so much for that, man. Thank you for being part of it. "We love you guys so much. You bring us much joy. Anyway, John, I wrote the first script in the Snyder Cut universe. It's called Fourth Mistress in the Attic." Fourth Mistress in the Attic. I don't know what that's a reference to, but I love it already. And listen, man, thank you for watching I said Argentina, Antigua. Sorry about that. From Antigua. Thank you for watching from Antigua. And you know what's funny, Big Lou? Is I always get pleasantly surprised when I hear from people that, "Hey, John, I watch with my kid." Or as a matter of fact, I was in my gym the other day and I came across this gentleman working out. He said, "You're John Campea, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Listen, man, me and my son watch your show all the time." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah. Watch your show all the time." It's like, I love hearing that. I don't know. There's something so cool about that I just dig. So thank you for sharing that, man. Thanks for watching from Antigua. All right. Anonymous writes, I'm a positive person, but when people tell me that I'm not a real Star Wars fan for liking The Last Jedi, my response is blow me. Same when people like something I hate. My response, I don't give a shit. But if you and I like the same thing, we're going to gush all day. I mean, listen, first of all, I love it when children try to tell me what a real Star Wars fan is. I love it when children, like, look, you and I, Rob and I, hell, me and Kyle Newman, we have a bunch of different opinions on Star Wars, but we love talking Star Wars together. And I would never say to Kyle, you don't agree with I like it, but we're not a real Star Wars fan. I love it when somebody tries to tell me what a real Star Wars fan is. It's like, child, just go off into your own little purple-skied universe, whatever. Don't try to tell me what a real Star Wars fan is. And by the way, you are not disqualified from being a real Star Wars fan if you have a completely opposite view from me and vice versa. And, you know, Kyle Newman and I are great examples of that. We have a lot of very differing opinions on Star Wars, but there's nothing I love more than talking Star Wars with Christian or Kyle or things like that. And Christian and I have some very different opinions as well, but we love Star Wars, and I am no less a Star Wars fan, and they are no less Star Wars fans. Now, sometimes I would joke, during the prequel era, I would joke and say, friends don't let friends watch the prequels. I mean, that's a joke. Clearly, if you love the prequels, that's awesome, and I celebrate that. But yeah, whenever, I gotta tell you, as somebody who has been a huge Star Wars fan my entire life, it always makes me giggle when children who know 1/20th of what I know about Star Wars try to tell me I'm not a real Star Wars fan. Listen, there are people who know in this world who know a little bit less about Star Wars than I do that might even be bigger fans of Star Wars than I. There are people who know more about Star Wars than I do who are not as big as Star Wars fans than I. But don't never tell somebody they're not a fan of X just because they have a different opinion than you. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely, utterly ridiculous. So yeah, the blow me attitude is probably the correct attitude to have there. Anyway, Mike C. writes, Top 10 of 2019 so far. Number 1, Knives Out. Number 2, Parasite. Number 3, The Lighthouse. Number 4, Joker. Number 5, Dr. Sleep. God, you know, I am still so distraught, Mike C., that Dr. Sleep didn't do better. That's a great movie. It may not be my top 5 or anything like that, but it's a great movie. It breaks my heart it didn't do better. Number 6, Jojo Rabbit. Number 7, Midsommar. I'm not as big as Midsommar as some other people. Number 8, Avengers Endgame. Number 9, Us. Number 10, John Wick Chapter 3. John Wick Chapter 3 was such a delight. Man, I think it's my favorite John Wick film. I mean, it's close with John Wick Chapter 1, but God, it was so good. I was not real big on Us. Although Lupita Nyong'o's performance is a force of nature in that one, I just thought it was a step down from Get Out. But whatever, really nice. You got a comic book movies in there. You got a horror movie in there. You got a murder mystery in there. You got a foreign film in there. That's a nice slick. I like it when people have lists that are really mixed up like that. I dig it. Well done, Mike. All right. Intellectual Pizza writes, will we see Henry Cavill play the new Bond? I would say there's a 30% chance. Got to remember, he was the runner-up to play Bond, and he lost out the role to Daniel Craig. He was also the runner-up to play Superman to Brandon Routh, and then Brandon Routh got the role, and then later Henry Cavill got it. So history could repeat itself. I'm not going to say it's a given, but I'll give it a good 30% chance. All right, and I think he'd be great as James Bond. Tachyano the Source writes, why didn't Mando use his gunship against the AT-ST? He didn't have the gunship there. Remember, and I still don't know why, but if you remember, he had to travel a long way from there to there, so he didn't have it there with him. It was far off. Kevin Kayajuka writes, hey, John, Watchmen is so unique. It has been very unique. I'll give it that. I haven't seen the newest episode, but you ain't wrong. It's a very unique show. Just like, you know, I think The Boys has been very unique. I think Doom Patrol is very unique. Umbrella Academy is very different as well. I mean, we're getting some really, really good stuff right now. It's always good to see. Big Coop 76 writes in, I think Luke will have a much bigger role than people think, and maybe he will save Rey or Kylo in the end in some way. Hey, it's possible, Big Coop. It's possible. And you know, I would love it because, you know, I'm a big Luke guy. I love, like, listen, I'm a huge Luke guy. He is, I know a lot of people will say, you know, Boba Fett's their favorite character. Han Solo's their favorite. To me, it's always been Luke. I'm a big Luke guy. And I really quite enjoyed his storyline in The Last Jedi. I thought his storyline was wonderful in Last Jedi. I have some issues with some other parts of the movie, but I loved Luke's storyline. I would love to see him return in Force. I'm okay if he doesn't, if it's a good story. But I think it's a possibility it could be him popping up the poster. Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll find out soon enough, man. Just about 2 weeks till we get all the answers, my brother. Just about 2 more weeks. Anyway, thanks for sending that in, man. Kevin Kai, I mispronounce his first name. Kai Ijuka writes, to add on, the writing is incredible. Your thoughts? Which movie were we talking about? Oh, Watchmen. Yeah, I think the writing's been very good. Like, again, I didn't love the first couple of episodes, but I was intrigued and I was hooked in. But the writing, I think, is really one of the big things, Kevin, that has been getting better and better. And everybody's talking about how good this next episode is that aired last night. I can't wait to watch it this afternoon. All right, Big Coop 76 writes, if Plagueis and Palpatine can cheat death, why couldn't Luke if he was so powerful? Maybe he learned that power at some. Maybe he learned that power at some point. Rob, I thought you would keep the Luke beard at least until after Episode 9. I remember he was doing it for No Shave November. Palpatine didn't learn how to cheat death, and remember, him being in Episode 9 could be that he had accomplished his mission in life to find out that secret. But it's also very possible that he just survived that fall down the pit. And remember, if Darth Maul could survive a fall down a deep pit after being cut in half, literally cut in half, then why couldn't the Emperor, who was far more powerful than Darth Maul, survive just the fall? Possibly could have fallen. One of his acolytes could have gotten him and gotten him off the Death Star, much like Luke and Vader got off the Death Star before it blew up. I mean, I'm not saying that's what happens. I'm just saying there's a lot of possibilities. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But remember, that cheating death thing, that was a Sith thing. That wasn't a Jedi thing. So who knows? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. We're going to get all the answers in just a short time, though. We're just a little over 2 weeks away, man, and then we get all the answers. All right. David Rivas writes, Casino Royale is your favorite 007 film, but besides Craig films, what would you consider to be your favorite Bond film along the other actors who portray them? I mean, we've talked about this before, and I've given a list before. It's really different because it all depends on who you're talking about. Because you remember a couple of months ago, we did that big list. We put down all the Connery Bonds, the Moore Bonds, and all their different movies and stuff like that. And it's just very difficult for me to give any sort of a rating or ranking to them because it's one of those things where, you know, the Bond, I mean, there are clearly some very terrible Bond films. I mean, clearly. But, I mean, I never really give any sort of rankings to them because it all depends. Bond films are like mood stones. You know, they change every day. And how I would rank them all the time would change every day. So I really don't know. I really don't know. It's tough to say given on the given day. But you're right. I think Casino Royale is actually my favorite James Bond film. I just love that one. And also don't forget about the Pierce Brosnan. I thought had a couple of good ones too. Like GoldenEye is a very, very good movie. So you got to throw those in there too. All right. Johnny Snacks writes, do you think Baby Yoda will tie into Rise of Skywalker 0% movie at all, or will they keep that separate in the TV series? Jon Favreau came up with his idea for the show not knowing anything about Episode 9. And Episode 9 was made completely independently of Mandalorian. So no, I expect there to be an absolute zero connection. Other than maybe there's a reference to a major event in Mandalorian by the time we get to the end of the season that gets a slight reference or something. But is there actually going to be like true tie-in between the two? No, these were two stories that were made completely independently of each other. So I really don't believe it. I mean, nothing's impossible. But let's just say this. If there is any kind of a Baby Yoda tie-in into Rise of Skywalker, I will be very surprised. I don't think they're going to do that. But hey, we'll find out soon enough. All right. Next up. Giorgio, I think I got that right, writes, do you watch Mr. Robot? No, don't watch it. I want to, though. And I plan on it. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Has won many awards, heard all sorts of good things, but no, I myself have not yet ever really sat down to watch it, but I will do that one of these days. All right, Lincoln Johnson writes, and this is the final question of the day, and then we're all wrapped up. My turkey weekend watch list. Thursday is Irishman, Friday, Brick, nice. Saturday, Knives Out, Sunday, Too Late, think Tarantino meets Noir meets Birdman. I've not seen Too Late. I'm not really familiar with that one. Irishman, listen, I will continue to complain about the runtime. It was unnecessarily long. It was completely, just completely self-indulgently too long. Doesn't change that it's a great movie, though. I mean, I would recommend it to everybody. I really would. It's a wonderful movie that would have been made even better had they sliced about 30 to 45 minutes of the movie out that simply didn't need to be there. But the scenes are still very good. The scenes that didn't need to be there are still good scenes. But the movie overall is just a really, really nice piece. So that's good. And of course, we've talked ad nauseum here, Lincoln, today about how I feel about Knives Out. It's terrific and wonderful as well. So I think you're in for a really good watch weekend. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here and making the show a part of your day. And listen, I want to remind you guys, we have an outstanding companion video that should have been up last night, but there was an upload issue. I've got the video all uploaded now. I just haven't published it yet. I'm going to publish it about 45 minutes. It's like an hour and a half long video. I'll publish it like 45 minutes after this show is done. And then for those of you who are Patreon supporters, come on over to the Discord service about 15 minutes after we're done the show. We'll have our little post-show chat. I look forward to that every day. And guys, once again, don't forget tomorrow, it is the return of Dark Side, Light Side. Me and Christian Harloff are going to be talking about all things Star Wars. You know we're going to talk a little bit of Mandalorian. We're 2 weeks away now from the premiere of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. So make sure you guys come and join us for that. That'll be tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, a few hours after the John Campea Show. And of course, once again, guys, look down in the description of this video and you will find the link if you live in or around the LA area, or if you're going to be in the LA area around Tuesday, December 17th, please go check out the link to where you can get tickets to come to an evening with John Campea. 100 million views of an absolute nobody. And we hope that you guys can join us there for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's episode of the John Campea Show. Again, to all of you guys, it is never lost on me what a privilege it is that you guys would spend a part of your day with this movie fan community. So I thank you deeply for that. And to all of you guys, special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way. And we thank you for that. And don't forget, you can use that tip link below to send in a question for the next show. Anytime, 24/7, we'll get to it on the next episode. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, guys, bye-bye.